Welcome back to Barnes Basics. We are on problem number 5 in our Solubility and Insolubility-Ionic reaction playlist. And tonight we're going to look at what happens when sodium chloride and potassium nitrate are mixed together. As I have told you earlier, we take the positive ion and cross it with the negative of the other compound, so we would get sodium nitrate and potassium chloride on the other side. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write these chemical equations out, and I'm going to use my common oxidation number sheet and also my solubility rules chart to determine the net ionic equation, the precipitant. If you have not downloaded a common oxidation number sheet or a solubility rules sheet, I would like you to do that. And it is the first video in this playlist where I show you the charts that I want you to have and I explain what we're looking for. Miss Hughes was talking to me as she was reviewing some of the other videos in this playlist, and she said there was a special kind of reaction that might be kind of nice to do in this playlist. So here we go. We know that sodium is Na, it's +1, and that chlorine is Cl -1. We know that potassium is +1, and we know that nitrate is -1. We know that sodium is +1 and nitrate is -1. We know that potassium is +1 and chlorine is -1. So when we look at each one of these individual formulas, there's really not a lot of work to do in each one of these compounds. Everything is neutral as it stands, so pretty easy. One sodium, one chlorine, one potassium, one nitrate. This is kind of a little bit boring, just a little bit. But let's do this. And actually, I kind of went out of turn this time, but that's okay. Let's look at sodium chloride. I want to just check the solubilities of these. We know that sodium, according to rule number 8, it says that all salts of sodium ions, potassium ions, and ammonium ions are soluble. So it says except several uncommon ones. So we know that if it's got sodium in it, it's soluble because of rule 8. If it's got sodium, potassium, or ammonium, this one's got potassium in it, we can say that it's soluble because of rule 8. This one's got sodium, soluble because of rule 8. Potassium, soluble, rule 8. When we look at rules for chlorides, bromides, and iodides, it says that all chlorides are soluble except for silver, lead, and mercury. So rule number 3 says that this one is soluble. Nitrates. Rule number 1 says all nitrates are soluble, so it's soluble because of rule 1. Same thing here, soluble because of rule 1. And the same rule on the chlorides. Rule number 3, all chlorides, bromides, and iodides are soluble except for silver, lead, and mercury. So we have a rule 3. So we kind of have an interesting dilemma here. In all of the other reactions, we had something that was insoluble as a precipitate or a precipitant. And in this case, we don't. So the truth is, in this case, we might have a NaCl, we might have a solution of salt, the salt solution mixed with potassium nitrate in a water solution, but nothing happens. We get no powder precipitating, no cloudiness, no heat, no light. Nothing is happening here. So, we can, however, write an ionic equation. We can drop all these down. We can say that sodium plus 1 aqueous plus chlorine plus minus 1 aqueous added to potassium plus 1 aqueous and nitrate minus 1 aqueous yields sodium plus 1 aqueous plus nitrate minus 1 aqueous, and I'm running out of room, plus potassium plus 1 aqueous, and chlorine minus 1 aqueous. Remember, we don't do this. When we write formulas, we write it in a straight line. I'm just running out of place to write there. Now, remember that in these types of reactions, we cross the spectator ions out. The ones, if there's no reaction, then everything's a spectator. So sodium does not react, chlorine doesn't react, potassium doesn't react, nitrate doesn't react. There you go. Everything is a spectator. Everything is a spectator. Good job. So Miss Hughes was thinking about you. She told me, students are going to get problems where there are no precipitations. There are no precipitates. And so here we go. Problem number 5, sodium chloride and potassium nitrate. There is no precipitant or precipitate. Good job.